Joining us now, NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley, who's joining us from Tel Aviv, and former CIA officer Mark Polymeropoulos. He is a non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. Welcome, guys. Matt, how is Israel reacting to the news of these direct talks, first of all?
We got a very terse reaction that said almost nothing from the Prime Minister's office, Alex. But we did hear from actually Israel's envoy to their consul general in New York. He spoke with Israeli media, and he said, very terse as well, but he said that's okay. He said that it sounds as though he's supporting the fact that the United States is speaking directly to Hamas. Remember, Israel, of course, not only considers Hamas to be terrorists and designates them as such, like the United States, but also considers them to be their arch enemy, Hamas being the authors of that October 7th attack that started this latest round of fighting for the last year and a half. So it's surprising that they might accept that, but it really is an indicator of just how warmly the government here in Israel is embracing the new Trump administration, and just about anything they do, they are so confident that the Trump administration is on their side, even if that means reaching out directly to designated terrorists.
And Mark, it's the New York Times that reports Israeli officials did not hear about these talks from the United States, but from, quote, other channels. How unusual are these talks right now, and what worries could Israelis have? Mark has said they're probably comfortable. They believe in the United States having their back. But why would the Trump administration go it alone with Hamas without including Israel? I'm curious if this is a new Trump-type approach, given the administration talks with Russia, not including Ukraine, over ending their war.
Well, Alex, let's first note that if the Biden administration had done this, there would have been an apocalyptic reaction, both from members of Congress and also from the Israeli government. So, there's certainly a different level of reaction here, as Matt noted. I'm not sure the Israeli consul general in New York is speaking for the Israelis, because he also saw a statement from the Israeli Prime Minister's office saying that essentially the Americans know our position on this. But I do think that this shows some level of frustration in the Trump administration that this move from phase 1 to phase 2 is not going well, and that they're willing to try something else. But at the end of the day, I think that doing this without the Israelis, is not a good idea. When the Biden administration actually suggested this, I and many others said, well, hold on a second, this doesn't seem right. The Israelis should be a party to the talks. And the real question is, will these negotiations directly between the U.S. and Hamas go anywhere? That is something that certainly we have not seen unfold. And of course, the statement yesterday, the Truth Social statement from President Trump threatening Hamas kind of throws those direct U.S.-Hamas negotiations into some turmoil as well.
And look, Matt, let's pick up on that statement being thrown in and how it will complicate things, because it has been almost a week since the ceasefire ended. Right now, there are no plans for extending it. So how have things changed since Saturday? Is there any hope for another phase to the ceasefire? And again, what Donald Trump puts out on Truth Social, how does it complicate negotiations?
Yeah, Alex, we were talking about what Donald Trump just said on Truth Social. We already heard from Hamas almost a shrug, almost an eye roll in several successive statements, the last one being just a couple of minutes ago from their spokesman, essentially saying that the enemy's threats won't get them anywhere. Now, it was unclear whether the enemy was Israel, who constantly are making threats against Hamas, who are at war with Hamas, or whether he was referring to Donald Trump himself. But the fact is, we haven't really heard much moving on from this. So it doesn't sound as though this is really complicating anything anymore. But the circumstances have changed dramatically over the nearly a week since that ceasefire expired. We saw that the Israelis, the day after, on Sunday, stopped allowing in further aid into the Gaza Strip. And they said that any aid that goes into the Gaza Strip goes to Hamas. And so they were going to stop it. Now, that elicited widespread criticism from the United Nations, from partner countries of the United States in the region, saying that the Israelis were using food as a weapon of war and saying that it was tantamount to a war crime, that it was illegal. Now, however, we have heard that prices for food items have spiked in the Gaza Strip, especially it's really dire during this holy month of Ramadan. But this is a situation that looks like it's going to get worse, and it really does look like both sides, with the lack of any progress on those negotiations, are teetering once again on the edge of an all-out war.
Mark, I want to get to a question about the U.S. and Israel, which has rejected a reconstruction plan for Gaza. It was proposed by Arab states. What happens next?
Well, once again, the Israelis don't seem to want to talk anything about the day after. And you can make a very kind of coherent argument that, there was never going to be any, wholesale destruction of Hamas. The notion of eradicating Hamas was not possible. We needed a day after. We needed perhaps a renewed Palestinian Authority or some kind of Arab initiative to move in. And if this is going to be rejected, doesn't seem to be any kind of solution to this. Because at the end of the day, there is going to be Hamas members in Gaza, hopefully not armed. But the idea of removing them entirely just doesn't seem feasible because there was never any movement for a day after plan. And I think this is coming home to bite the Israelis now. So many of us had called for this to be so much part of the last several months of negotiations. The Israelis have rejected this. So now we're stuck with this idea that Hamas has to be eradicated, but it is almost a growing insurgency right now. No real solution in sight.
Okay. Matt Bradley, Mark Polymeropoulos, guys, thank you so much.